We had late race restarts that produced late race chaos, as always on these road courses. We had some on-track tempers. We had some tempers in freaking pit road. There was a fight on pit road, but somehow, someway, this race ended the exact way we thought it would, with Shane Van Gisbergen obliterating the field. So, with that being said, play the song. No, the other song. The other song. Play the other song. Alright, yeah, that one's more normal. But yes, for the first time since 2011, Kasey Kahne at Phoenix Raceway with Red Bull Racing, a Red Bull car has won a NASCAR Cup Series race. Of course, just yesterday, Shane Van Gisbergen snapped that winless streak, poleless streak for Red Bull. Of course, this is Red Bull's first year back in NASCAR since 2011. But with that being said, their last pole was 2011 with Kasey Kahne. Their last win was 2011 with Kasey Kahne. Well, Shane Van Gisbergen has ended that streak and has proven that Red Bull's investment back into NASCAR, even though it's not as big as it was when they owned a team, has been worth the payment. Shane Van Gisbergen just obliterated the field today. As I said, like last week we talked about how SVG, there was never a moment in that race when it felt like it wasn't his, but statistically he did not dominate. He didn't lead the most laps, he didn't win a stage, but he still led a lot of laps. He still won that race with somewhat ease. This week, he statistically dominated. In fact, he set a new record. I think I just read from Joseph Shrigley, if I pronounced that wrong, apologies. Shane Van Gisbergen just set the new record for most NASCAR Cup Series laps led at Sonoma. The previous record was 92 by Jeff Gordon in 2004. SVG led 97 of the 110 laps. He had an average running position of 1.16. I don't think you understand how insane that is. In fact, the only laps he didn't lead, I'm pretty sure, were through the pit cycle. I'm pretty sure every normal lap, like yesterday we talked about how Zilich and SVG led every single normal lap, and the only laps that were led by other drivers were via the pit cycle, via the stage end, and, pitting before the stage end. Well, that was Shane Van Gisbergen alone today. If there were no stages in this race, I actually think he would have led every single lap. I mean, there were times at this race when William Byron was in second, Chase Briscoe was in second. Heck, I think Christopher Bell was in second for a bit. And they were right there. They were within a couple of tenths. If they wanted to, if it was late in the race, they could have moved him. But because it was so early in the race, they obviously aren't going to do that. But point being, right, not even when you think, because you can kind of tell what's going on. But when you think, oh, they're right there on Shane Van Gisbergen, no, that's not really the case. SVG is saving him his stuff. The first 10 laps of a run, other drivers could be close within a second and a half, but then the last 20, 25 laps of a run, that was where he excelled. That is where his road expertise, his road record really kicked in, and he would stretch a 6, 7, 8 second long lead, and he would just kill everyone. As I said, obliterate everyone. So Shane Van Gisbergen, once again, just makes NASCAR drivers look foolish on the road courses. Don't get me wrong. I truly believe we got some really good road course racers. Chase Elliott's up there in the top 5. Michael McDowell's a really good road racer. Christopher Bell's a really good road racer. Tyler Reddick. But SVG has just put these guys to shame on the road. I mean, truly. I think he set the record for quickest NASCAR Cup Series driver in the modern era to 4 wins and the least amount of starts. I mean, he's resetting the record books with the road courses. Obviously, the ovals are a completely different topic. He's still learning, figuring out the ovals. That's a completely different discussion. We're here today to talk about him on the road. Point being, we've talked about SVG a lot. We'll get to him when we look at the finishing results. There was a pit road fight in this race, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Ty Gibbs. He's had an issue before where he's gotten penalized for an incident on pit road when he swerved into Ty Dillon back in Texas in 2022. As a result, he got fined $75,000, got docked 25 points. He was driving for 2311 at the time on a part-time basis due to Kurt Busch's injury. And it was an owner's hit on them too. They got 25 owner's points deducted. Well, today in the race, there was a little bit of controversy when Ty Gibbs, I think this was like near the end of stage 2, maybe. I can't remember exactly when. But Chris Buescher makes a move on Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs throws the block, and Chris Buescher says, okay, if you're going to block me that late, I'm going to send you. So he pushes him way up the track. And it was an aggressive bump and run, yes. You know, it wasn't a typical bump and run where you bump him out of the way, you take the position, and they only lose that one position. Ty Gibbs got shipped pretty far. He ended up losing 3 or 4 positions as a result. So frustration from Ty Gibbs is understandable here. But what happened next was not great. Ty Gibbs goes to pit in his pit stall under the caution. And once again, this is a different car, different team. NASCAR confirmed that there was no bad intentions here or that there was nothing ugly, nothing to penalize Ty Gibbs for. But Ty Gibbs takes, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, an aggressive entry into his pit stall. And as a result, he kind of clips the tire that the tire carrier is holding. After the pit stop is over, that tire carrier, who nearly got clipped by Ty Gibbs, went over to share his displeasure with the 54 team. This started a fight on pit road, shoving. I don't think any punches were thrown, but an official had to get in there and kind of break up this scuffle between the number 6 car and the number 54. Once again, the 6 car isn't even the car who did the thing on the track. Now, that's the teammate / co-owner of the car, so maybe Ty Gibbs was sending a message. But once again, was it intentional? I don't know. If NASCAR says it wasn't, then it wasn't, I guess. But if it was intentional, yeah, that's a suspension. NASCAR has proven before, or they've shown before, and honestly, you should never screw around on the pit lane when there are people, active people jumping over the wall, pitting cars. You don't take any risk. You can go out there, you can spin the 17 out, you can take it out on the 6 and run them in the dirt. Sure, you're going to get it paid back to you, but taking out anything on the pit lane is just unacceptable. So NASCAR has determined that this was not a punishable act, at least right now. That could change on Tuesday, Wednesday when the penalty report comes out and they look at some more data. So the booth at first, they were saying like, oh yeah, that's dirty, that's bad, but then they kind of backtracked. So I don't know. From my look, that looked like an aggressive entry into the pit lane. Intention is hard to really tell, but yeah, you can't mess around on the pit lane. So if that was intentional, Ty Gibbs, you're going to get punished. You're going to get a big punishment, and it's deserved. But if it wasn't intentional, if it was just Ty Gibbs trying to take an aggressive angle into the pit stall, trying to give himself an easier exit and trying to angle the car, then in that case, well, he just needs to calculate it a little bit better next time and not almost hit the 6 car. So once again, it's so hard to tell with some of these things in terms of intent. I like to not think that Ty Gibbs did that intentionally, but it just didn't look pretty at the time. It still doesn't look pretty to me, but right now Ty Gibbs' name is cleared. So I'll believe NASCAR. I'll believe Steve Letarte, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the guys who have been in that position before. I'll believe them. So late in this race, we did see all those cautions as I had previously mentioned. Cody Ware, with about 15 or so laps to go, had a loose wheel go out onto the track. Obviously, that's a pretty dangerous situation. You can't have that. So caution flies. Shane Van Gisbergen, at this point, with what he's been doing to the field, you got to do the opposite of him. So Chase Elliott, a bunch of other cars opt to pit, take tires, and just try to do something different. A bunch of cautions come out, and that basically ends any chance of Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Tyler Reddick, those other guys on tires having a shot at chasing down SVG. If that whole last 13-lap run went green, I don't even know if they could have got there. Elliott restarted 13th. He has to pass 11 cars just to get to the back bumper, or not even to the back bumper, to get into second place to have a chance to chase down SVG. So even if it stayed green those last 12, 13 laps, I don't know. But once the cautions kept coming, that killed any chance. Elliott got to third with about 2.5 laps to go, but immediately when he took 2 to go, he goes into turn 2, puts his left sides in the dirt, Bell repasses him, and that was it. That was race over. So that kind of shuffled up the results at the end of this thing, but let's look at the finishing results. Speaking of, try not to hit this wall as I have done the past couple of weeks. But finishing results, Shane Van Gisbergen. What else do we have to say? He won a stage today. By the way, Shane Van Gisbergen, he shorted the stage, or what do we call it? Flipped the stage. He flipped the stage. He pitted with 2 laps to go at the end of each stage, and he scored 19 stage points. He won stage 2. He finished second in stage 1. Like, the tire fall off was big today. Almost everyone pitted before the end of the stage. That's how big of an impact the tires were. But still, the fact that he scored 19 stage points with flipping the stage is just unbelievable. As I said, he puts Red Bull back in victory lane. Do I need to put this back on, I guess? He puts Red Bull back in victory lane. He becomes the first driver to convert 3 straight road course poles to victory since Jeff Gordon, who is considered the best road racer in NASCAR history. SVG picks up his 4th career road course win in NASCAR, which puts him like top 7 all time, I think, on the road course list. He now has the most road course wins in the next-gen era, and he's only been a full-time driver for a little bit over half a season. So we expected this out of Shane Van Gisbergen. We expected him to be really good at the road courses, especially Chicago, where he's shown that he can dominate. At Mexico, a brand new road course. But the biggest question was, how good is he going to be at the NASCAR road courses, the tracks that all these other drivers have a lot more experience than him at? Well, today proved that kind of doesn't matter. If anything, it really makes me ask, what happened in COTA? Why were they so off in COTA? He still led 20-something laps in that race, and they finished 6th, so it's not like they were horrible, but compared to the last 3 road course races, I mean, that COTA race was awful compared to what they've done. So my biggest question out of this is, what happened at COTA? I don't even know who got the fastest lap in this race. It was not Shane Van Gisbergen, so he does not get that bonus point. It was actually Justin Haley. What a random fastest lap. Anywho, Shane Van Gisbergen wins. He picks up his 3rd win. He locks up more playoff points. We will talk about that more tomorrow night on the Monday after. But the playoff situation is interesting right now. Chase Briscoe finishes 2nd. They really emphasize the point that Chase Briscoe is bad at Sonoma today. Chase Briscoe, and he got rid of that noise pretty quickly because he qualified 2nd, he finished 2nd, ran 2nd almost the entire race. I mean, Chase Briscoe, you got to remember, while Chase Briscoe statistically might be horrible at Sonoma prior to today, that 19 car is the opposite of horrible. They won this race 2 years ago with Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr., Sonoma was by far his best road course. Yes, he won at Watkins Glen as well. He's had good runs at the Roval, I think Road America, and some other road courses. But Truex excelled at Sonoma, being with that 19 team, helping elevate that 19 team. The 19 team obviously elevating him as well. But Truex being in that car, having a lot of input in the past, I think translated well for Briscoe to come to Sonoma, a track that they talked about how bad he was at. So the combination of the 19 car, Chase Briscoe, a really good driver who struggled at Sonoma in the past, I think that just ends up making a really good combo. So they end up finishing 2nd, having a really good points day. Chase Elliott finishes 3rd. When they opted to pit with about 15 laps to go and take those tires, give up their track position, they were 3rd. They end up finishing 3rd. So at the end of the day, they did not lose anything. It was a good call because it at least gave them a shot. It at least gave them something different to try to go beat SVG. But as I said, they didn't lose anything. They still end up finishing 3rd anyway. So good, solid day for Chase Elliott. He's been great on the road. Even though he hasn't won since 2021, he's still been great on the road. He finished 3rd at Mexico, top 5 at COTA, they're fine. Michael McDowell finishes 4th. Once again, he's a great road racer. No shock to see that. He was on that tire strategy as well, but he was a little bit off compared to last week at Chicago. He was back half of the top 10 most of the day, but ends up rallying for a top 5. Christopher Bell finishes 5th. He was in the top 5 the majority of the day. A really solid run for him. As I said, he's a great road racer too. Tyler Reddick was on that tire strategy. They took some tires there late. They end up getting up to 6th. Ty Gibbs finishes 7th. We already talked about him. Once again, I'm assuming he's fine for now in terms of, that whole incident and whatnot. But he's a really good road racer. No shock to see him up there. But they still do need to win to make the playoffs. William Byron finishes 8th. He seemed like the second best car early in this race. But Things just didn't work out for him. Joey Logano, Kyle Busch in the top 10. How did those two get in the top 10? I did not see Joey Logano on TV once today. Kyle Busch literally just spun himself out late in this race, probably with about 30 to go, let's call it. Somehow rallies to a top 10. He must have pitted for tires. Brad Keselowski, 11th. The guy who is known for not being good at road courses has said there should be less road courses. What a day. He's the highest finisher of the RFK cars. What? Okay. Priest had some damage. Josh Berry just sent Carson Hocevar to the moon on that last lap. Daniel Suarez, he got spun out by Chastain, and he had some words over the radio. He was not happy with Chastain. Justin Haley, 15th, gets that bonus point for the fastest lap. Chris Buescher, who's normally the best RFK car on these road courses, finishes 16th. That's a horrible finish for Buescher on a road course. I mean, statistically, he averages like a 9th place finish. So they were running up in the top 5 for a good chunk of this day. So those late race restarts must have screwed him. Ty Dillon makes a last corner pass on Alex Bowman to advance in the in-season tournament. Again, the last seed in the tournament, the 32 seed, is in the Final Four. What an exciting time to be alive. Why did I go against him this week? Well, I was wrong. AJ Allmendinger looked like he was going to have a top 5 run early in this race, and then he simply spun himself out. That killed any hope they had of a good day. Alex Bowman, Denny Hamlin, Austin Dillon, Todd Gilliland, Cole Custer. Ross Chastain won stage 1, so he got a playoff point for that. Riley Herbst, Bubba Wallace, Zane Smith, John Hunter Nemechek. He advances over his teammate Eric Jones, who finishes right behind him. Austin Cindric, Catherine Legg, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Of course, they finished together. Cody Ware, 34th. Kyle Larson wrecked on 4 to go. Ryan Blaney was involved in that as well. And then Noah Gragson was our one of 2 DNFs. It says that Ryan Blaney DNF'd as well. Shane Van Gisbergen is now tied for the most wins on the season, believe it or not. Hamlin, Bell, Larson, SVG all have 3 wins apiece. Speaking of 3 wins apiece, winning gets you into the playoffs. SVG got some juicy playoff points today. Let's look at this playoff grid right now. So we have 12 different winners in the playoffs as of this moment. Obviously, 4 more winners could happen, but we're running out of time, so it could be less than that. It probably will be. But our point situation, Tyler Reddick, once again, as long as there's not a bunch of new winners, he's safe. He's good. Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman, not sleeping easy. Bubba Wallace, not sleeping at all. Ryan Priest, not sleeping at all. Kyle Busch has somehow, some way put himself that he can technically point his way in, but I would say Kyle Busch down. They need to win a race to make the playoffs because you never know what can happen. McDowell can win at Watkins Glen. We could see Justin Haley win at Daytona. We're running out of wild card races. Remember, next week's Dover, then we got Indy, we got Iowa, we got Richmond coming up. So we have more traditional ovals. We've kind of gone through the wild card portion of the season when we had Mexico, Atlanta, Chicago, and Sonoma within a 5-week window. So we've really avoided that wild card stretch, but it's still possible. You never know. Fuel mileage at Indy. I don't know. Things happen. So that's all I got on that. In terms of the in-season challenge, the Final Four is Ty Dillon versus John Hunter Nemechek, just as we all predicted. And then it's going to be Tyler Reddick versus Ty Gibbs on the other side of the bracket. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sonoma, it's always been one of the lower road courses in terms of the actual racing product. We saw some good racing early. The middle was kind of dullish, and, we got some late race chaos, I guess, and Elliott kind of charging through the field was exciting, but once again, Sonoma, not the most exciting road course in terms of the side-by-side racing like we saw at Chicago last week, like we see at Watkins Glen, at COTA, but it was a decent race. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't incredible. It was all right, I guess, so thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow night, we have the Monday after where we will talk about everything Sonoma, the Xfinity race, the Cup race, whatever else we got to talk about. So I hope you can make it there.